Welcome to Pay Attention, a podcast guiding you from the chaos of the mind to the clarity of the heart. Here's your host, Holly McNeil.
Hello and happy holidays. Feliz Navidad, Merry Kalikimaka, and if you just, celebrated Hanukkah or whatever this day means to you, happy Wednesday. Thank you and welcome for coming here on this busy day in December. It's rainy here in Southern California, not your typical sunny Christmas Eve, but I don't know, we'll take the rain. I had a lovely holiday with my children, an early Christmas up at the Central Coast last week. So I will be having a quiet Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. I have a couple of friends who suffered some pretty significant losses in the last year, so I will be spending time with them this holiday season. But no matter where you are in the world or what your holidays look like, if you are looking for the gift of peace and love and clarity, I want you to know that it's already here. It's already inside you. You are already the gift of everything that you seek. So maybe the gift of compassion and understanding, because this human life is actually quite rare and amazing. And so I went into the studio and recorded a little bit about that gift of being here on this earth, which I know, being human alone means that you're going to struggle. But, during this holiday season, just being grateful and thinking about this gift of this amazing human journey. So please sit back. It's a really chill time, maybe before all the festivities this evening and tomorrow. Sit back and enjoy this episode. Hello and Merry Christmas Eve. Welcome to another episode of Pay Attention. It's Christmas Eve. Hopefully all the presents are bought. Hopefully plans are made. I know it can be tough for some people, joyous for others. Wherever you're at this Christmas Eve, let's just take a minute. Let's just give ourselves a gift of a minute. Take a deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. How are you? How are you this holiday season? I'm just going to talk briefly today, as I know everyone's got a lot going on. So I'm not sure how many of you will have a chance to listen to me this Christmas Eve. I wanted to talk a little bit about this gift of the human journey that we all have. And I know that sometimes it might not seem like a gift. I mean, if you want to know a little bit more about me, head back to the Thanksgiving episode. Certainly there's a lot of people that aren't feeling the holiday spirit for one reason or the other. But being here in this life, this human journey, really can be a gift if you put your mind to it. That's what mindfulness is all about. Moment to moment, non-judgmental, but curious awareness. There are 3 things I want you to know about how your mind works, and it'll help you to understand this journey, how to get from the small and isolated, seeing life only through the lens of your experience, to as far as you want to go, to that open, awake awareness, that clarity of understanding when you can put those thoughts, emotions, and feelings aside and see and let your true nature come through. So the mind is habit-based. Anything you think of over and over and over again, consciously or subconsciously, will become a habit. 95% of everything we know about ourselves, all our habits, patterns, identities, go on below our level of awareness. And these habits, often when we're young, we make them in survival mode because we're overwhelmed, because we don't feel safe. We often outgrow them, but still live through them, right? They're reinforced. They become more, we forget that they're habits, we forget that we created them. They become part of who we are. We identify with them. We take them on as our personalities, and then we say, this is who I am. The second thing you want to know about how your mind works is that the mind does not discriminate between good and bad conditioning. It doesn't care. It's just inputting whatever you put in. It doesn't ask, should we be doing this, or is this even true? It just collects information, especially that which you repeat over and over and over. It puts it in your subconscious warehouse. And that's where the mind goes back to get the information when anything comes up, when you're living your life. And if a lot of that stuff was done on autopilot, which it often can be, we're unaware of these habits and patterns and beliefs that affect our choices, the direction we move our lives, the relationships we have, what we do and don't put up with. Doesn't discriminate between good and bad conditioning. But the main job of the brain, the mind, is to keep you safe. And it does so by keeping those habits and patterns, that conditioning, intact. So if there's a lot of anxiety, if there's a lot of fear, like I know well, those patterns and habits are protected. They become your laws of transformation through which everything you see and interact with, every choice you make is colored by, right? So with those three things in mind, the mind is habit-based. Anything, if you're stuck on something and it's going on in your head over and over and over again, right? That's nerve cells that fire together, wire together. Those are creating neural nets in your brain, they're making everything seem very solid and very real. And it does not discriminate. It doesn't look at whether this is something helpful or harmful. Should we be doing this? It doesn't question. But then the mind, as you grow older, protects those programs. They get stronger. Those habits get stronger and stronger as this protection is in place, which is why people get further and further down the rabbit hole of anxiety, depression, whatever it may be. So a lot of people, myself included, hit what is now recognized as the quarter life crisis in their late 20s and early 30s. How the hell did I get here? Which I hit very, very hard. And someday I may tell you that story in one of my episodes. But from that low point, I made a vow to do better, to figure out what's going on in here. And that is why this podcast is a journey from the chaos of the mind to the clarity of an open heart. And there is a set of practices that I teach known as P.E.R.L.O.V.E. P.E.R.L.O.V.E is one path to that clarity. There are many. What I loved about my journey is I looked in neuroscience, quantum physics, psychology, Buddhism, spirituality, contemplative practices, and they all point back to this truth, this unwinding of who we are not. We are not our thoughts, emotions, feelings, habits, patterns, and defaults. We are so much more. We have 6,000 to 70,000 thoughts a day. 80% are negative, 95% repeat. So when on autopilot, you can see how it's easy to get stuck in what I call the entanglement camp, entangled in that neuronet, in those beliefs, seeing life only through the lens of those experiences. Well, these practices, as a lot of these modalities point back to, help to clear that up, helps to unwind that path, helps you to find the space in between your thoughts, emotions, and feelings, where that clarity, peace, and wisdom can come through. Now, my formal education is in architecture, as many of you may or may not know. So I don't have, a psychology degree. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a neuroscience and quantum physics, but I have lived experience. And I can tell you, I promise you, this is how the mind works. And if you take this journey with me or with whatever mentor or anyone that shows up in your life that can help you, you will find your way if you put your mind to it. So, P.E.R.L.O.V.E, I'm going to go through it relatively quickly. I do have a 1-hour class that explains it in more detail. If you'd like, you can send me a message and I'll get that to you. P.E.R.L.O.V.E. So it's in 2 parts. Pledge, evaluate, recognize is the more cerebral part of the formula. Then there's locate, open, invest, and expand. The more spiritual part, expanding ultimately beyond your conditioned limits. I started my journey in the spiritual realm. I started by putting a belief out there, a belief that there had to be better. There had to be better than where I was. There had to be more. And that belief is everything. That intention to find that more is so, so powerful. And in fact, I think maybe, we'll see, at New Year's Eve, we might try to set an intention together. But having that belief out there, things started to show up. Starting with the book, Cheryl Richardson's Stand Up for Your Life. And in the introduction, it says, be careful what you wish for because the universe will respond and it could rock your world. And you'll be sent the right people, places, and events to help you along your way. So book after book came, and I definitely started in the spiritual part of it. But what I loved about it is when science and understanding and psychology, neuroscience, quantum physics, all started to catch up. All started to point back to the same truth that we are not our thoughts, emotions, and feelings. We are so much more. We are the awareness. We are the soul that came into this world to experience this life. So the cerebral part of the formula, pledge, evaluate, recognize. Pledge to make the habit of watching your mind. So often we're on autopilot. Anything you do over and over and over again will become habit. So let's use that to our advantage and pledge to make the habit of watching the mind. And you do this 1 minute, 6 times a day. That's it. That's all it takes. 1 minute, 6 times a day. You take a deep breath. And you're just learning to pay attention. You're not judging. You're not pushing these thoughts away. You're just learning to pay attention. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to write anything down. You just have to do it consistently. Morning, noon, and night, before you go to bed, when you get up in the morning. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. After you've had an argument, not during an argument, or, set an alarm. Just do it consistently. And one day, I remember the day. It's like, wow, I can see my thoughts. It's your first step in getting off of autopilot. And once you have this habit of watching the mind, which, by the way, I have a free 21-day challenge, Awaken Your Inner Observer, to create the habit of watching the mind, you evaluate. So P.E.R.L.O.V.E, P, pledge, E, evaluate what you find there. I love, and I often refer to Robert Bly's poem about the long bag we drag behind us. We push it when we're young and people don't like things about us. We take parts of us that we think aren't okay and we stuff them in the bag. We spend up into our early 20s stuffing this bag, and then we spend the rest of our lives trying to get all of that out again. So you can start to evaluate what you find there. Start to question those thoughts as they come up. Is this even true? Is this outdated? Will this even help me? Right? Spend some time journaling, paying attention, writing down, repeating thoughts so that you become more aware of them, so that you can recognize them as they come up in your daily life. There's a moment when those thoughts first arrive, and if you catch them, right? If you catch them, you can look at them, question them, send them on their way. So often we don't catch them, sends us down the rabbit hole of despair. So we go, this is the process. We have the habit of watching the mind, we evaluate them, we catch them as they come up. We recognize these habits, we let them go, right? So that's the more cerebral part of the formula in a nutshell. We are finding, we're taking a look at this neural net, we're taking a look at what we created, and thought by thought, release by release, we are starting to unravel that. And then we locate, in love, locate the space that remains when the thoughts, emotions, and feelings have subsided. And at first, this whole part, love, is about, and actually the whole journey is about celebrating glimpses, because you're going to get a glimpse of this space, of this clarity at first, and then it will be gone. Glimpses come when habits are starting to form, when you're starting to really create a path. And so you just really need to nurture those things. In love, meditation comes in more so, right, than maybe so it did in the cerebral part, the pledge, evaluate, recognize. Because once you locate that space, you want to just stay with it as long as you can, and your mind is going to try to eliminate that. Remember, it's protecting you. So any new ideas, I don't know, any new patterns, any new habits, this is why change can be so difficult. So we're going to locate that clarity of space. And I remember the first time I saw it, right, in my mind, and you just hold on to it as long as you can, right? Keep up the practices, and you can notice that maybe it's expandable, right? Maybe it's expandable. Maybe it's bigger than, bigger than your body and mind, right? It's a peaceful, loving space, right? That peaceful, loving space of clarity is where your wisdom comes through, right? Peaceful, loving space. And once you locate it, you drop from your head down into your heart. You drop from your head and you consciously down into your heart, and you open your heart. Open. Use your power of imagination to open. You just imagine your heart opening with that clarity. There's a light of clarity coming through. You imagine that first beam of light coming through as you open beyond the confines of your chest, just opening your heart. You can imagine that beam of light coming out as you open your heart. You want to live moment by moment in an open heart. Then you invest what you find there. There is a natural flow to life, which is the gift of living, which is the gift of being here, this flow. If you can get out of your own way, if you can get these habits and beliefs subsided, released, let go, you find, if you live in this flow, it's as if life runs beautifully by its own fruition. So spend time in that flow of an open heart. You invest in unconditional love, universal compassion, and infinite wisdom that you find there. Also in V, you invest in the obstacles in your life, because every single one of us is on a trajectory back to this clarity, back to this open space of awareness, back to your true nature, back to who you are. And everything, every obstacle in your life is showing you what you need to release, what you need to let go of in order to set yourself free. A lot of times we fight these old habits and patterns, right? And that fighting only makes them stronger. There's a Jungian work called the shadow work, befriending those parts of you that you've pushed away so long. They're really only trying to protect you. I use the Ho'oponopono prayer when I can see an obstacle, right, that I'm still holding on to, that anxiety, that fear. I'm so sorry I fought you all of these years. Please forgive me for not understanding that you were trying to protect me. Thank you for all that you have done. I love you. I release you. Come back to the whole. It's a beautiful practice. And the more we do that, the more the spirit clarity of space opens up, the more we can quiet the mind, the more we can find that stillness. Because in that stillness, you expand beyond your conditioned limits. Deeper meditation here, right? We're spending time in the quiet, just in the stillness of the mind. There's a book called Accept This Gift, which is the Cliff Notes to A Course in Miracles. And it says all you need to do is be still. And the world within you, that clarity, that beauty, that understanding will open up. Expanding you beyond your conditioned limits. There will come a moment when you realize that this identity, this Holly, I remember the moment, it's like, wow, this Holly, this name was given to me, right? I am conscious awareness. I am the purity. I am that which creates all these habits and patterns in this beautiful, amazing world. What your inside world, what you're creating on the inside world, you can see it exactly what it is when you look around you. Okay. So when you live and expand beyond your conditioned limits, the world gets softer. You're less attached to it. We're working on detaching from the need for anything to be any different than it is. And it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful journey. So the gift at Christmas that I want to talk to you about is even if life is hard, and life can be really, really hard, believe me, I know, right? Every one of us has this ability to take this amazing journey, to find peace and calm regardless of what's going on in our outside world. So I want to wish you a very, very Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, love and light, peace and joy on your journey, this precious gift of your human journey. And thank you for listening, and I will see you on another episode of Pay Attention. There you go, the gift of the human journey. There's a Buddhist saying, and I might have said this in an earlier episode, that's a Buddhist saying that the human journey, the ability to come here and experience this life, is as rare as a blind turtle who lives at the bottom of the ocean, who comes up every 100 years. And when he comes up, he just happens to put his head through a golden ring sitting on the surface of the ocean. So even though, life can be tough, definitely is a struggle, I celebrate you. I celebrate being here. I celebrate this journey that we can all take. This is the gift, the journey of coming back to that natural flow of life, living from that flow from moment to moment. There is such a peace there. And I have definitely come from that chaos into that clarity. And even more recently, realizing it's not just from the head to the heart. There's a lot that your gut's holding on to, a lot of your true nature that's being protected from whatever your mind thinks it needs to protect you from. But you are whole this holiday season. You are whole. You are beautiful. It's a journey to nowhere. You don't have to find something. You don't have to be a different person. You just have to be open to who you already are. This beautiful, amazing soul, this beautiful light that's connected to all of us, this being who's here to touch and feel and be fascinated by the taste of things, the beauty of nature. So this holiday season, when you're with your family, or if you're alone, or if it's just a Wednesday, take time to go inside, and maybe we'll talk next week about having the intention next year to unravel all of that who we think we are, all of the conditioning and beliefs that have clouded our view of this world, and see what we find in that beautiful stillness. I promise you will be amazed if you take this journey. So, happy holidays. Enjoy. And I will see you next week on Pay Attention.
Thanks for watching Pay Attention with Holly McNeil. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. See you next week on Wednesday at 10 o'clock Pacific, 1 o'clock Eastern.